Welcome to Growth Gatherings. In this series, we are inviting Pakistani women who are contributing to Pakistan's startup ecosystem. Today, we have a special guest, Sonal Dhanani. She runs a social enterprise, Parindey. Let's hear her story. Welcome to Growth Gatherings.
Hi, thank you so much, Fariha.
So, tell us about Parindey.
Yeah, so Parindey, as you mentioned, is a social enterprise. And for the audience who do not know what social enterprise is, it's any organization which works for the well-being or development of the community, along with the commercial side or the profit side of it. So, which means that all the profit you generate from
Hmm.
the organization are invested back to the community. So, Parinde is a social
Hmm.
enterprise. We work on mental health, peace building, and gender equitable futures in Pakistan.
Okay, so all three very relevant. Before we get into it, so we met in Lahore, and I was very impressed by your journey. You studied from Karachi, then you went to Iceland for your master's degree. So before we talk about mental well-being and social justice or social inclusion, tell me your experience from Karachi, moving to Iceland and living there. How was that for you?
Yeah. So it wasn't really exactly a master, but it's a postgrad diploma
Acha.
from University of Iceland called Grow Guest.
Huh.
And yeah, coming from a city like Karachi, like
Huh.
chaos, full of people, a lot of social life, and landing into Iceland, which is like, you first get a nature shocked that you have to go to the university at 9 a.m. but it's pitch dark outside and it's a big moon. So for you to even accept that, oh, am I supposed to go? But then as soon as you enter into the university, people are already working. So I think that was a big shock for me to see that sun is rising only for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and rest all is dark.
Huh.
And then to see that how Iceland, being a very small country, but achieving a lot, for example, being number one at gender equality. So there are, of course, different nuances that their population is so less that it is easy to work on SDGs. It is easy to build systems which make people accountable. But I think overall, meeting the people of Iceland and to learn about that how Iceland have been through economic crisis, a lot of other histories, and now how they're progressing towards setting an example for being number one on gender equality and so many other things, and also one of the country where women leadership is so visible.
Huh.
So I think that was a very um beautiful, enriching experience to see that women do not really have to struggle in that part of the world.
Huh.
Especially just in the context of Iceland. Of course, there are social challenges there as well, but then there are also platforms which empowers women, which give them a space to practice their leadership. So I think as a student and also as someone going from Pakistan, landing into Iceland, it is a mixture of both, excitement and also a lot of depression because social life runs according to the nature's clock and you always do not have opportunity to just go out mingle because things will shut down around 5 p.m. on the sunlight thing, so that is really challenging. But I also feel that my cohort was very nice and I was able to do a lot of exchange with my cohort. So my cohort had mixture of people. We had South Asians, we had people from Africa as well, we had people from Central Asia as well. So that was a beautiful part of the journey,
Hmm.
to getting to meet a lot of people, exchanging the thoughts, exchanging the idea, and also to co-design a lot of different concepts around gender and
Hmm.
in different dynamics. Yeah.
Now let's talk about Parante. How did you come up with the name and why those focus areas?
Okay, so the journey when it started, it wasn't very beautiful journey. Back in 2015, I come from a religious minority community, and my community bus was attacked back in 2015.
Hmm.
And when the news unfolded that 47 people of my community lost their life,
Hmm.
and the incident was planned by graduate of one of the finest
Hmm.
university of Pakistan, so that movement was very alarming.
Hmm.
So then when the details unfolded that the person who planned all of this and did all of this was graduate of one of the finest university, so that was a big question that what went wrong. But then we need to understand as a society that when you are not managing mental health well, you are either harming yourself, there's a lot of self harm, or you are harming somebody else,
Hmm.
be it in your immediate family or be it
Hmm.
at the societal level. I think that's where my journey started. That if someone is not doing mentally well, can we afford keep losing 47 people? And I'm very glad that my community was able to come up with the system where we worked on a holistic, grief recovery and
Hmm.
transformative justice for the primary and the secondary survivor
Hmm.
of this violence. And I adapted and I learned from that model. When I saw that how you can use a certain
Yeah.
framework to bring people out of the grief
Yeah.
and to work on transformative justice. And that's where I started noticing that there is a population in our country which is experiencing different kind of
Hmm.
violence, be it a minority, be it women.
Hmm.
Then who's working on their transformative
Hmm.
justice and who is working on their well-being?
Hmm.
And how do we work on just even at the individual who has
Hmm.
experienced something?
How do we create harmony in the
Yeah,
system, right?
yeah. And
Huh.
for that individual to feel that he or she is beyond what they experienced.
Hmm.
So, even in my case, to understand that now I'm beyond what my community experienced.
Hmm.
So, that's where Parindey started,
Okay.
purely with the idea to
Yeah.
work with, communities to build resilience in the
Yeah.
community. And when we talk about resilience, so we also saw that there was a lot of taboo attached to mental health. There
Huh.
was a lot of taboo attached of speaking, right? We come from in South Asia, as you mentioned, generally अफेक्शन एक्सप्रेशन
Yeah.
बहुत वल्नरेबल कैटेगरी में डाल दिया
Huh.
जाता है और उसको इतना अच्छा नहीं समझा जाता
Huh.
है हमारे घरों के अंदर भी हम देखें तो वी आर a different population.
Huh.
So in a society like that, there if you want to talk about mental health, it
Hmm.
was very tricky.
Huh.
So we started, talking about mental health through creative expression. So I myself have diploma in art therapy. So I started doing a lot of art therapy session, music
Oh.
therapy session, theater session, just with the idea to create this space where people can think that they are beyond their trauma. They are
And I,
beyond, yeah.
what I love about your idea is, I mean, एक तो obviously harmony within the society, because when these things happen, it disrupts,
Yeah,
right? Number two, creating that safe space, because these are soft and soft skills, right?
yeah,
Whether it's music,
yeah,
whether it's art. So I think creating those spaces are super, super important. Completely
yeah.
agree.
And I think that brings a lot of, a process of vulnerability.
Huh,
That is okay. You don't always have to act tough.
huh,
It's okay. You don't always
huh,
have to man up,
huh.
right? And it's okay if you have experienced something that you always have a potential to come back as a better person and contribute to this society. So the idea was that if anybody have experienced any kind of violence, how do we work with them using transformative justice framework
Hmm.
and also using a lot of creative expression for them to feel like themselves again
Yeah.
and for them to feel like they are still active citizen of this country.
And do you work individually? Like, can anybody contact? Because you're, as you mentioned, the violence could be a group violence,
Yeah,
a minority violence. It
yeah,
could also be like a woman, like
yeah,
a
gender based
harassment, gender,
violence.
or even men to men also, right?
Yeah,
So what is your, what's your focus area?
yes.
And also children.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we focus a lot on collective healing.
Okay. So
So
what's that?
yeah, so a lot of our programs and our direction is towards working on society as one. So our program are more towards group program. We'll do a
Hmm.
lot of group art therapy, group meditation session, group sessions on discovering your emotion, understanding yourself. So we work with children as well, but in the group setting. So a
Hmm.
lot of our work is towards the collective healing. So for example, if we hear a news,
Hmm.
we all of us, because of social media, we all hear a
Hmm.
news at the same time, but nobody works with our communities at the same time, right? So in that way, for example, if you have heard of any incident against any woman
Hmm.
anywhere in Pakistan, so everyone is going through a grief as a
Hmm.
nation. But then there are very few programs which are focused on collective healing, where we can come together as a group and process our traumas, process our feelings around that. So a lot of our work is towards building the spaces where we are able to process our grief collectively. So a
Yeah.
lot of work is towards collective healing.
And this is such a nice process, because you're right, that's a very vulnerable stage. Now, tell me one thing, is it only for the community? And also, I'd like to understand a little bit, because I think your community is one of the most organized
Mm.
community building community, right? So, if anybody watching this podcast, what tips and tricks you would share, okay, if you are to do that
Hmm.
collective impact to create that rhythm? So number one, that,
Yeah.
and number two, do you just, so is it just the community people can approach you, or anybody can approach
Yeah.
you?
So no, I think our programs are open to anybody.
Okay.
I think over the period of time, we consider everyone as a community now. So it's
Mm.
not just a faith based community, but it's open to any
Exactly.
community. So anyone who's listening to this and they would like to work or build a community, first you need to understand that who is your community. So your community could be a faith based community,
Mm.
your community could be the community which shares the age group with you,
Mm.
which shares ideology with you,
Mm.
or maybe they share
Mm.
cultural, any values with you. So if you, I think it's very important question as well, because in Pakistan we operate so much in silos, and now we
Exactly.
need to
Huh.
come together. When we say we
Exactly.
need to come together, we now have initiative which are trying to build a community. So for
Mm.
example, public libraries are there,
Mm.
public spaces are there.
Mm.
So for example, TDF or Kitab Ghar, they
Huh.
are now slowly building that sense of
Huh.
community where you feel like, okay, I belong to this group. And when you're trying to build those communities, again, there should be no hierarchy.
Huh.
People should feel seen, people should feel they belong to that space, and people should feel that they are able to contribute to that space. So I
Correct.
think that would be my one of the very important tip, that when you're trying to build community based network, and again I say any community, you need to make sure that everyone feel like they belong to that network or that
Huh.
community, and not that there is a hierarchy, or because there's so much nuances in there, that whose pain is more painful, whose story is important. So we need to come to the ground of equity, that where everybody has a say on the table,
Hmm.
not just they are part of the table, but they feel like they belong to that table. So I think that's very important when you are
Yeah.
working from the community lens.
So that's another very important. So, so moving from interfaith harmony or grievance management, which I think is super important,
Yeah,
to
economic.
economic justice or
Yes.
equality. Um, so, what is the focus there, and how do you help organizations and again individuals there?
Yes. So even at Parindey, we have our own program called Third Women Innovation Lab. And then in my consultancies with JICA, with SMEDA, with so many other organizations. So the idea is that how do we, so women in Pakistan are fall under informal categories. So a
Hmm.
lot of women who have skills, and they, for when I say skill, it means that even if they can do embroidery,
Hmm.
if they are beautician, so a lot of that unfortunately goes into informal economy. They are
Hmm.
not part of the registered economy. So now, because they are not part of the registered economy and their skill is not taken
Hmm.
seriously, many times they do not have opportunity to channelize their voice and agencies
Hmm.
at the domestic level, but also at the country
Hmm.
level. So through these kind of programs, we work on women to build their capacities around financial literacy, digital literacy, to make sure that they bridge from informal economy to the formal economy. And as soon as they're part of formal economy, or even let's say they go through this process where they realize the skill they have so much potential, they feel that agency inside them. As soon as you feel that agency, you have a voice, you have a say. You can say no to the violence you are experiencing,
Huh.
be it financial
Huh.
violence, be it any other
Huh.
gender based violence, but also you have voice to take decisions for yourself. Maybe you're not experiencing any kind of violence, but that now you know that what I know, I can be independent, I can do something.
Huh.
So that financial independence brings a lot of empowerment to women in any setting, be it urban or rural
हाँ,
setting. Yeah.
एंड हाउ डू यू इसमें औरतों का हाउ डू यू सेलेक्ट और हाउ डू दे अप्रोच, बिकॉज जो औरतें स्किल्ड लेबर में आती हैं, उन एज यू सेइंग कि वो रजिस्टर्ड
Hmm.
इकोनॉमी में नहीं है, तो उनके पास इतने रिसोर्सेज भी नहीं है. सो आई
That's
एम
right.
नॉट श्योर वेदर दे विल बी लिसनिंग टू दिस पॉडकास्ट फॉर एग्जांपल, राइट? तो वो कैसे, हाउ डू दे फाइंड यू, एंड
Yeah.
इज द सेम फॉर इंटरफेथ? बिकॉज़ बहुत सारे जब इस तरह के एलिमेंट्स होते हैं, ये उन जगह पे होते हैं जहाँ पे probably what you
Hmm.
and I are talking,
Yeah.
they don't have
Yeah.
access. So
Yeah.
how do you make sure that people know that you exist?
Yes, I think in that case, communities and people who have resources, they become your asset. So,
अच्छा.
for example, in case of working, working as a consultant with JICA,
Hmm.
so we build partnership with the local organization.
अच्छा.
and those local organizations help us mobilizing.
Hmm.
So of course you don't just sit and wait for people to reach out,
Hmm.
you have to reach to people,
Hmm.
because ये equity का मामला है where everybody doesn't have access.
Hmm.
So if you give a call out in English or if you give a call out in Urdu,
Hmm.
बट आपका जो ये तबका है उसको अगर उर्दू भी पढ़ने नहीं आती
हाँ
या उसके पास सेल फोन ही नहीं है,
हाँ
सो अगर वो पोस्टर पहुंच भी जाता है तो इट्स ऑफ नो
हाँ
यूज़, राइट?
हाँ
सो यू नीड टू इंश्योर दैट नंबर वन देयर इज़ अ लैंग्वेज इक्विटी, कि आप जो भी कम्युनिकेट कर रहे हैं वो रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में वो लोगों तक पहुंच रहा है, वो उनके साथ को डिज़ाइन हुआ हुआ है, वो उनकी नीड के मुताबिक है, एंड देन यू नीड टू बिल्ड पार्टनरशिप विद देयर पीपल सो दैट you are able to reach them and they are able to reach you. So this is the entire process where we make sure that we take an extra step and we go to those women so
Hmm.
that they know that we are there, but not just directly going to them and telling them, okay, this is a training program we want to work, but to also understand that what kind of other challenges do they have. Do they really need this program?
Hmm.
If they do not need this program, then it's a waste of resources and time and so many other things. So I think co-creation ka process is also very important
Hmm.
in this. So anybody who's listening, if you're working with community, you work with women, फर्स्ट डू अ रिसर्च. और मैं जब रिसर्च की बात करती हूँ तो लोगों को लगता है मैं 1 साल की बात कर रही हूँ, नहीं, गो मीट देम वंस, आप एक दफ़ा भी जाके
फोकस
सुनेंगे
ग्रुप ही कर लें
या
हाँ
तो आपको समझ में आपके प्रोग्राम स्ट्रेंथन होंगे, आपके प्रोग्राम लोकल वॉइसेस से बने हुए होंगे. सो फॉर एग्जांपल अगर कोई खातून कहती है कि मेरी ये इतनी अच्छी एम्ब्रॉयडरी स्किल है पर मुझे फ़ोन चलाना आता ही नहीं है, तो अगर आप मुझे अपने प्रोग्राम में फ़ोन भी दे देंगे कोई फ़ायदा नहीं है, मुझे
हम्म
चलाने आता ही नहीं है. सो वंस यू हियर दिस, now you know that okay, we need to keep a element of basic literacy where we teach them how to operate a phone, so it is going to strengthen your program. So
yeah
I think that's where I focus a lot on that, go and do co-designing.
so three takeaways number one what I learned from you number one is um, org- being organized thinking through the process नंबर टू जो टॉपिक्स हैं चाहे वो इंटरफेथ से रिलेटेड हो वायलेंस से रिलेटेड हो या विमेन इक्वालिटी से रिलेटेड हो दीज आर सेंसिटिव टॉपिक्स एटलीस्ट इन आवर सोसाइटी
Yeah.
दे आर नॉट ओपनली डिस्कस्ड तो उसको अप्रोच करने के लिए भी वन नीड्स अ लिटिल बिट of an understanding of the issue but also approach it in a professional manner right non-emotive manner
Yes.
so like how do you advise because हमारे यहाँ तो बड़े emotions run करते हैं इन सारे topics पे
Hmm. Yeah, I think one thing which we really need to do is that we stop seeing people as a commodity. We stop
हम्म
seeing these communities stories as a chance to make profit.
हम्म
So I think ये बहुत important advice है. Don't think कि इनकी stories की base पे you are going to grow. But I think we really need to largely in Pakistan shift towards collective community
हम्म,
like approach, because उसके अंदर we all are going to grow.
हाँ
अगर हम बहुत ही isolated उसके अंदर
हम्म,
रहेंगे, if we just see that okay, certain community is going through a social issue,
हाँ
I'm going to design a program for them. You do it and you are out of it. It's only you who are growing. These
हम्म,
people are not growing. क्योंकि वो सॉल्यूशंस आपने अपने लेंस से बना के उनको ला के दे दिए, पर वो उनके लेंस से नहीं बने हुए. सो आई थिंक वी रियली नीड टू शिफ्ट टूवर्ड्स मोर एंड मोर टूवर्ड्स कम्युनिटी अप्रोच, मोर एंड मोर,
yeah
like going back to the roots.
yeah
I think that was always the solution and that is the solution
so
right now.
I also feel that in our country silos and number two lack of patience
Hmm.
tolerance जिसे है
Hmm.
ना we need to be more acceptable of each other
That's right.
and create that community mindset then you create the movement
Yes.
right
Yes.
otherwise तो वो initiatives नहीं रहते हैं what is the support you need either Parinde your organization or you as a consultant
Yeah. I think we always need people to amplify our voice.
अच्छा
So I think that's very important. Ke more and more people to learn about the work we are doing, to amplify, that work. And many times I also say that if you have learned something, go reach to those community and speak about those communities. So, for example, if you didn't know that fisher folk community is going through a
hmm.
great issue of because of climate change, speak about them. Write about them. So I think in my personal capacity as well, and also as an organization, we always ask people that if you have joined any of our program, if you feel that if you felt close to the cause, speak about it, write about it. So the more and more people join the movement, so if you join our workshops, write about mental health, talk about mental health, normalize mental health, so that more and more people find that courage to get support. So I think that that would be my calling, and that would be my ask to the people, that join the initiatives uh, which are supporting vulnerability, which are talking about collective healing, and also start speaking about it, so that more people find courage to talk about mental health. Because I think in Pakistan, for us to build resilient communities, we need a lot of work on mental health.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And any particular areas where you have noticed in your kind of observation कि ये दो तीन तो बिल्कुल ही overlooked है mental health की capacity में. Aggression could be one because I feel sometimes we get upset very quickly.
I think joy is really overlooked. हमें, yeah, I think मेंटल हेल्थ के अंदर वी कैन नॉट इग्नोर कि जॉय कितना इम्पॉर्टेंट है, और एज अ नेशन अगर हम थोड़ा सा इंजॉय कर लें तो हमें पता नहीं क्यों गिल्ट में डाल दिया जाता है, फ्रॉम फैमिली लेवल टू द नेशन लेवल. आप देखें, कोई एक इंडिविजुअल है, वाज वेरी हैप्पी गोइंग पर्सन, अ लॉट ऑफ जॉय, so other people will be like, what nonsense, like, how selfish you are. So
Yeah.
I think we need to normalize joy.
And also we have, I think you're so right कि वो joy and let people do what they want to do. We
Yeah.
put moral, moral police के इसको ये नहीं करना चाहिए, इनको
हाँ.
ये नहीं. भाई, I mean, but joy is important.
Yeah,
हाँ
like if you are happy inside, you are going to contribute to your nation.
हाँ
But if you're stressed, if you're continuously struggling,
bitter
if
and
you're
हाँ
continuously in anger,
हाँ
how on earth you will show up for other people?
हाँ. But how do you create joy? I think that's a great purpose. Personally, I'm getting motivated
Yeah,
now.
I think that's a whole different discussion. I think joy, again, I would say that uh, first you need to be connected to yourself.
Hmm.
And when I say joy, so पाकिस्तान के अंदर एक बड़ा इशू ये भी है, स्पेशली हमारी करंट जनरेशन को बहुत ज़्यादा ये बताया जाता है कि कोई बहुत बड़ी अचीवमेंट करेंगे ना, वही सेंस ऑफ जॉय लेके आएगी. बट फाइंडिंग जॉय इन लिटिल मोमेंट्स,
Hmm.
if I'm privileged enough to sit 25 minutes with you without worrying, without checking my phone, I'm having a lot of joy right now.
Hmm.
So joy is the moment where you feel like I'm present, I'm feeling light, and I'm grateful.
Hmm.
So find those moments, like where you are grateful for. Vana, in this time of capitalism, we are pushed to just one after
Yeah.
another thing,
Yes.
one after another thing. हर वक्त आपको ये एहसास डाला जाता है कि किसी चीज़ की कमी है.
हाँ.
You are earning well, but it's still capitalism will get you. Okay, no, you don't have this in life. You don't have this in life. You need this treatment. You need to buy this thing. So I think we need to slowly work on that and feel present, feel grounded, and feel connected to yourself. So I think that's my idea of joy.
What's next for you?
Yeah, Faria, I think next in my own journey and for Parinde is I'm focusing a lot on moving from equality to equity.
अच्छा.
Uh,
What is the difference?
सो इक्वालिटीज़ जहाँ पे हम कहते हैं कि बराबर हो सबके लिए, इक्विटी जहाँ पे हम कहते हैं कि नीड बेस के ऊपर करो. सो टेकिंग द एग्जांपल ऑफ वुमेन, अगर मैं कहूँ कि अच्छा यार इनके पास फ़ोन नहीं है, चलो सबको फ़ोन दे दो, सो बराबरी के उस पे तो मैंने सबको फ़ोन दे दिया. बट इक्विटी ये कहेगी कि नहीं, किसी खातून को ज़्यादा रिसोर्सेज चाहिए, उसको फ़ोन चलाना भी सिखाओ.
Hmm.
सो इक्विटी इज़ वेयर कि आप लोगों को उनके रिसोर्सेज के मुताबिक चीज़ें
हाँ.
दें. सो आई थिंक वी आर स्लोली वर्किंग टूवर्ड्स.
सॉरी, मैं जस्ट टू चिप इन, हम लोग एचआर में हम भी इक्विटी वर्ड यूज करते हैं, नॉट इक्वालिटी, बिकॉज द लेंस वी आल्सो ब्रिंग इन कि एक तो लोगों के हिसाब से प्लस लोगों के मोटिवेशन और टैलेंट.
या
मीनिंग कि अगर कोई बिल्कुल ही लेजी है, उसको वाकई घर बैठे मनोसलवा चाहिए, then you're going to do the basics, but
या
there's someone who's putting in the effort, putting in the energy, you want to do more for them as well.
या दैट्स
Sorry,
ट्रू.
so continue. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we are moving towards equity and equitable futures, but also now we are slowly transiting from trauma informed work to healing centered. And I know this is in the end of the conversation, but trauma informed is जहाँ पे हम ये कहते हैं कि understand people have traumas or stories. So उसमें unfortunately ये हो जाता है कि a lot of your work is just driving from the trauma identity
Yeah.
of someone. Healing center उसके अंदर हम अब shift कर रहे हैं where we say that okay, what person experience, what kind of trauma they experience is one part of their identity, but they still have a lot to offer. So healing centered के अंदर now we are slowly building our programs toward that we move past the identity of what people experience, but largely build an ecosystem where people feel like they are more than their trauma. they are more than the identity attached to it,
Yeah.
and they still have so much to offer
And
to, yeah.
yeah, sorry, I know I love this collective healing, but just a one, I don't know, but maybe it's technical or relevant, um, because we're also talking about faith-based.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain faith they also teach you about harmony,
Mm-hmm.
healing. So if we join that community, uh, it's okay for them to follow whichever faith they are following, because I
Yeah.
mean, collective healing doesn't mean that you're compromising on your personal faith.
No, not at
Hmm.
all. I think when I say community, so at Parinde, the community is anyone who agrees to the idea that, like, people should coexist. That's our basic. And when we say coexist, it means that you can coexist with your different uh, religious
Beliefs,
identity, your
huh?
different beliefs, your different
Huh,
ideologies. Like,
huh.
you could have different political ideologies, social ideologies. The entire idea is that we are human, we experience life differently, and we are allowed to sit together, and we are allowed to experience movements together. So I think that's what we are building at Parinde.
I wish you all the best
Thank you.
and continue to inspire us. And maybe in a year's time, we'll invite you again just to see any progress you've made, or maybe we'll join any part. But joy is definitely something I think you've sort of left something with me as well.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad. Yeah.
Thank you.